My name is Mark Thorne. I'm 33 years old, and until recently, I believed my life was a meticulously crafted symphony of success and contentment. My Manhattan penthouse, a testament to years of grueling work as a top-tier cybersecurity architect, offered sweeping views of the Hudson River, a panorama of glittering ambition and endless possibility. My sleek, minimalist office, a sanctuary of code and complex algorithms, was where I built digital fortresses for Fortune 500 companies, making their secrets impenetrable. I was a phantom in the digital realm, a guardian of data, a silent protector of corporate empires. I reveled in the challenge, the intellectual rigor, the constant evolution of the threat landscape. My life was controlled, precise, and predictable. Every byte, every firewall, every vulnerability assessment was meticulously planned. And then there was Chloe Maxwell. She walked into my life 2 years ago, a whirlwind of vibrant energy and effortless charm, a public relations guru for a prominent tech firm. Our paths crossed at a Silicon Alley networking event where her quick wit and dazzling smile cut through the usual corporate drone. She was 29, with a cascade of sun-kissed blonde hair and eyes that sparkled with a seemingly genuine ambition. I, a man often more comfortable with lines of code than lines of conversation, found myself utterly captivated. She pursued me relentlessly, playfully, claiming my quiet intensity was irresistible. And I, a man who'd spent his 20s rebuilding after a brutal breakup that left me wary of emotional entanglement, was flattered, disarmed, and utterly swept away by her vivacity. I, the cynical, data-driven Mark Thorne, had fallen for the illusion of perfection. Our courtship was a blur of Michelin-starred dinners, spontaneous weekend getaways to the Hamptons, and quiet evenings on my terrace, discussing everything and nothing under the glow of the city lights. Chloe adapted to my world of luxury and high-stakes finance with astonishing ease. She seemed to fit perfectly into the spaces I hadn't realized were empty, bringing a warmth and social grace that balanced my own introverted nature. Within 6 months, she quit her job. "I want to focus on us," she'd said, her hand tracing patterns on my arm, "on supporting your incredible career and maybe, eventually, starting our family." It felt right. I was content, maybe even blissful. I traveled frequently for work, fortifying digital perimeters across the globe, and Chloe seemed genuinely happy curating our social calendar, managing our pristine home, and indulging her expensive tastes in art and fashion. She was everything I thought I wanted in a partner: beautiful, intelligent, socially adept, and seemingly devoted to our shared future, a picture-perfect addition to my perfectly curated life. The first hairline crack in my perfectly constructed reality appeared 18 months into our marriage. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible to anyone not trained to detect anomalies and patterns. But my career wasn't just about building firewalls. It was about identifying vulnerabilities, tracing digital footprints, and understanding the subtle shifts that signaled a breach. My mind was wired for detection, for recognizing the whispers of an intrusion before the alarms blared, for seeing the unseen, for decoding the silent language of deceit. Chloe's phone became a permanent appendage, always face down, always muted. She developed new interests, late-night yoga classes that somehow coincided with my client dinners in the city, forcing me to cancel or reschedule. Exclusive book clubs that only met when I was traveling abroad, leaving me with a faint, nagging sense of exclusion. And shopping excursions that produced surprisingly few purchases for their duration, despite her claims of spending entire afternoons at designer boutiques. She started showering immediately after returning home from these outings, a meticulous ritual, almost ritualistic in its urgency, and peculiar for someone who insisted on delegating household chores. She began doing her own laundry, meticulously separating her delicate items from mine, often washing them by hand. These were minor shifts, almost dismissible, easily explained away by a busy social life or a new commitment to personal wellness. But my internal alarm bells, a residual hum from my military intelligence training before I transitioned to civilian cyber work, began to register. The pattern was emerging, like a malicious piece of code slowly revealing its true intent. My instincts, honed by years of cyber forensics and a deep understanding of human behavioral patterns, screamed that something was wrong. My professional life demanded that I assume compromise until proven otherwise. My personal life begged me to dismiss it as paranoia, but I'd also learned the value of patience. Rushed actions led to sloppy results, and Mark Thorne never produced sloppy results. So I watched. I observed. I built a mental profile of her new habits, cross-referencing them with my own travel schedule, my meeting times, even the security logs from our building's advanced surveillance system. The more I watched, the more discrepancies emerged. The yoga studio she claimed to attend had no late-night classes on Wednesdays. The book club had no online presence, no meeting minutes, no discernible members beyond a few vague names she dropped during superficial conversations. Her shopping bags, when I managed a casual glance, were often empty or contained only a single, inexpensive item, far too meager for the hours she claimed to spend browse Fifth Avenue boutiques. The pieces didn't fit, and the picture forming was disturbing. I considered confronting her, to lay bare my suspicions and demand answers, but my gut told me it was too soon. I needed more than instinct. I needed data. Irrefutable, undeniable data. Just as I would never approach a system breach without irrefutable evidence, I wouldn't confront my wife without undeniable proof. So, I leveraged my own skills. Carefully, discreetly, I installed a tiny, undetectable surveillance program on an old tablet I'd given her, disguised as a harmless productivity app. I configured it to record location data, ambient audio, and even detect activity on encrypted messaging apps. It was a profound violation of trust. Yes, a searing ethical breach on my part that tore at my conscience, but a necessary one. I rationalized, as the gut feeling festered into a cold dread, eclipsing my love for her with suspicion, replacing warmth with a chilling resolve. The data streamed in, a chilling tapestry of deception woven pixel by pixel. Her yoga classes were actually 2-hour blocks of time spent in a nondescript, rundown apartment building in Queens, a stark contrast to her usual high-end haunts, a place that screamed clandestine activity, not spiritual wellness. The book club was a series of late-night meetings in a discreet, private dining room in a downtown hotel, usually with the same shadowy figure, a man I didn't recognize, but whose posture, even in grainy images, suggested military training, a familiarity with combat and subterfuge, a lethal grace. Her shopping trips were covers for brief, clandestine encounters in deserted parking lots, where packages were exchanged, not purchases. The contents of these packages, glimpsed through the tablet's camera, flash drives, burner phones, even what looked like small, high-tech tracking devices. It was all so meticulously planned, yet so carelessly executed, revealing a shocking arrogance on her part. The deepest, most unsettling part was the encrypted communications. My software, a custom-built decryption tool that bypassed even military-grade encryptions, a tool I had designed for national security applications, revealed fragments of conversations, names, locations, coded messages about packages and deliveries, assets, and clients. It wasn't just an affair. It was something far more sinister, far more organized, a complex web of illicit activity. Chloe was living a double life, but it wasn't romantic betrayal. It was something professional, dangerous, and utterly chilling. The phrase that kept recurring, a cryptic tattoo on the digital underbelly of her life, was Project Nightingale. I spent weeks piecing it together, running her contacts through my network of dark web intelligence databases, cross-referencing names with known criminal organizations and intelligence agencies, tracking digital breadcrumbs across continents. The shadowy figure she met? Elias Thorne, no relation, thankfully. A ghost in the world of private military contractors, rumored to be involved in black market intelligence and corporate espionage, with a specialty in identity forging and human asset management. The Queen's apartment? A known safe house used by various illicit organizations for temporary detainment, illicit exchanges, or clandestine meetings. My blood ran cold when I finally cracked the full encryption on one of her larger files, a manifest titled Nightingale Manifest Current.nc. It wasn't about data or corporate secrets. It was about human trafficking, children, a network for relocating undocumented minors, making them disappear into the shadows, erasing their identities, selling them to the highest bidder for unspeakable purposes, forced labor, illegal adoptions. Even worse, the sheer scale and depravity of it made me physically sick. My wife, Chloe Maxwell, my beautiful, charming wife, was involved in this. The realization hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. The woman I loved, the woman I had planned a future with, the woman who shared my bed and my life, was a monster. The thought of a child caught in such a web of innocent lives being shattered for profit fueled a cold, righteous fury that eclipsed my personal heartbreak. My betrayal was secondary to the horrific truth I had uncovered. I was no longer just a betrayed husband. I was a cybersecurity architect with a military-grade arsenal of digital tools, and I was about to dismantle an entire network of evil. This was my new mission. I built a parallel operation, a secret digital war room in my penthouse, transforming my elegant office into a command center. I installed a separate, dedicated network, insulated from my main systems, a ghost network within my own home, untraceable and impregnable. I linked my custom software to public surveillance feeds, to obscure data streams from global financial markets that masked illicit transactions, even to the darkest corners of the internet where these monstrous transactions were whispered, where children's lives were reduced to commodity prices. I wasn't just tracking Chloe, I was mapping the entire Project Nightingale network, identifying every node, every participant, every safe house, every fake identity they generated, every dirty dollar they laundered. I dug into their financial structures, their logistical chains, their recruitment methods. My objective was no longer just to understand. It was to dismantle, to burn it down from the inside out, leaving no stone unturned, no criminal unpunished. The hardest part was maintaining the facade. Every evening I would come home, greet Chloe with a kiss, feigning affection, listen to her fabricated stories about yoga and book clubs, and pretend to be the oblivious, loving husband. I'd watch her feign interest in my day, her eyes betraying nothing of the darkness festering beneath. Yet I could now see the micro-expressions, the subtle tells that screamed deception. The hypocrisy was a bitter taste in my mouth, like ashes and bile, but it was essential. If she even suspected I was onto her, the entire operation could vanish into the ether, its monstrous secrets buried forever, and countless lives would remain in peril. I lived with a constant knot of tension in my stomach, every casual touch, every shared meal, a grim reminder of the clandestine war being waged under my own roof, a silent battle for human lives. My sleep was fractured by nightmares of children's cries, and I often found myself staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail, searching for an overlooked vulnerability. Then, the call came. I was in my office, immersed in the digital labyrinth of the Nightingale network, monitoring a particularly active node, tracing a recent surge in packages, moving through a series of shell companies registered in the Marshall Islands, a common hub for illicit financial activity. My phone vibrated, displaying an unknown number. My heart gave a strange lurch, a premonition of disruption. I answered, my voice clipped, professional, as if expecting a routine client call. "Mr. Thorne?" a harried female voice asked, laced with an underlying urgency. "This is St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We have a situation." My blood ran cold. The clinical phrase situation sent shivers down my spine. "I'm sorry. I think you have the wrong number. I don't have any children." A beat of unsettling silence on the other end. Then, a slight exasperation in her voice. "Are you Mark Thorne, husband of Chloe Maxwell?" "Yes, but still, I don't have a daughter." The words felt like a desperate plea against an impossible reality. "Sir, we have your daughter here, Scarlett Thorne. She was admitted a few hours ago after being found disoriented near Grand Central Station. She's malnourished and dehydrated, but responsive. She keeps asking for her mommy, Chloe." My world tilted on its axis, then spun violently out of control. Scarlett Thorne. My daughter. The name echoed in the hollow chambers of my mind, utterly alien yet terrifyingly real. My mind reeled, trying to connect the impossible dots. A daughter? Chloe's daughter? How? Why? The shock was quickly overridden by a primal, protective instinct, a jolt of fierce, unbidden emotion. Disoriented, malnourished, abandoned near Grand Central. The pieces of Chloe's deception clicked into place, forming the most grotesque puzzle of all. "I'm on my way," I said, my voice dangerously calm, the words feeling foreign and heavy on my tongue, masking the storm brewing within me. I grabbed my jacket, my mind racing a million miles an hour, not just with questions, but with a cold, clear plan. This wasn't a wrong number. This was a direct consequence of Project Nightingale. This was Chloe's hidden past, crashing violently into my meticulously ordered present, tearing it apart at the seams, demanding I confront a truth more devastating than any cyber breach. The taxi ride to the hospital was a blur. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every passing face on the street seemed to stare, knowing the impossible truth that was about to engulf my life. The hospital waiting room was a sterile blur of hushed voices and anxious faces. When the social worker, a kind-faced woman named Miss Evans, finally called my name, I was already a tightly coiled spring of raw nerves and seething questions, barely containing the tempest raging within me. My hands were balled into fists in my pockets, my jaw clenched. "Mr. Thorne, thank you for coming so quickly," she said, her voice soft but firm, leading me down a quiet hallway. "Scarlett is stable. She's asleep now. We've given her some fluids and food. She's been through a lot, but she's a little fighter." "Scarlett? Who is she?" I asked, my voice strained, feeling like a stranger to my own words, to my own life. "How is she my daughter? I don't understand. I truly don't have any children. No biological children, no adopted children." Miss Evans's eyebrows furrowed, her expression a mix of concern and confusion, probably chalking it up to a bewildered father. "Mr. Thorne, Scarlett is listed as your and Mrs. Thorne's child on her medical records from the past 3 years. She's also registered with her preschool under your address. We have her birth certificate on file from 3 years ago, listing both you and Chloe Maxwell as her parents. She was born at Mercy Hospital in upstate New York. She has your last name, Mr. Thorne. Birth certificate, medical records, school registration, 3 years, Mercy Hospital." The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity, forming a monstrous mosaic of unparalleled deception. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was another layer of Chloe's elaborate deception, a masterstroke of identity fraud that made my own cybersecurity work seem elementary by comparison. Not just espionage and trafficking. She had fabricated an entire secret life, a phantom child, for a purpose I couldn't yet fathom, a purpose that now revealed itself as a chillingly effective cover. And now, that phantom child was real, tangible, and in a hospital bed, abandoned and vulnerable, a living testament to her depravity, a shocking indictment of my own naivete. "Can I see her?" I asked, cutting through the swirling chaos in my mind, my voice barely a whisper, an almost desperate plea. The urge to see this child, this impossible daughter, was overwhelming, driven by a mixture of morbid curiosity and a burgeoning, unexpected sense of responsibility. Miss Evans led me to a private room. Scarlett was small, almost fragile, swallowed by the pristine white hospital bed. Her blonde hair, tangled and dirty, was the same shade as Chloe's, a cruel twist of resemblance. Her delicate features, even in sleep, hinted at a beauty that felt both familiar and utterly alien, a blend of innocence and heartbreaking fragility. As I looked at her, a strange mix of profound grief for the innocence lost, for the life that had been so cruelly manipulated, and a burgeoning, terrifying protectiveness washed over me. This was the child of a monster, yes, a product of a lie, but she was also a victim, a casualty of a war I hadn't known I was fighting. And a deep, unexpected empathy bloomed in my chest, a fierce desire to protect this small, vulnerable being who had been used as a pawn. I sat by her bedside for hours, just watching her breathe, a silent sentinel, the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest, a testament to her fragile life. My mind was a whirlwind of rage, disbelief, and a chilling realization of the depths of Chloe's manipulation. She hadn't just been using me for my money or my connections. She had used my identity, my home, my very life as a cover for her monstrous activities. This child, Scarlett, was either part of Project Nightingale, a child groomed for trafficking, or a tragic consequence of it, a life created purely as a prop in Chloe's twisted game. The sheer audacity of it, the cold, calculating cruelty, was breathtaking, a testament to a level of psychopathy I had never imagined possible in someone I had once loved. While Scarlett slept, I discreetly began my final preparations. My phone, muted, was a lifeline to the outside world. I accessed my most trusted contact, Elias Vance, a retired FBI agent who had been my mentor in my early days of cyber intelligence. A man who knew the true meaning of shadows and secrets. A man I trusted implicitly. I explained the impossible situation, omitting only the full extent of Chloe's horrific involvement in human trafficking, framing it as a desperate search for answers regarding her identity fraud. Elias, a man who had seen the darkest corners of human depravity, listened without judgment, his voice calm and steady, offering professional counsel. Mark, he said, his voice grave, this is beyond a missing persons case. This is identity fraud on a massive scale, and potentially child endangerment. You need to gather every piece of evidence you can. Do not confront her until you have everything. This woman is dangerous, and she has nothing left to lose when exposed. I already knew. The cold truth had settled in my bones, hardening my resolve. When I returned to the penthouse, the silence was deafening, amplified by the hollowness of my own emotions. Chloe wasn't home. I moved through our apartment like a ghost, every expensive artifact, every carefully chosen piece of furniture, now tainted by her presence, by the lies woven into its very fabric. I accessed the building's internal security cameras. Chloe had left hours ago, shortly after Scarlett would have been found. She hadn't gone to the hospital. She had disappeared, abandoning her prop when the charade risked exposure, confirming my darkest suspicions. This was it, the moment of truth. I didn't need to play the loving husband anymore. I went to my secret office, my digital war room. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a furious ballet of data extraction. I downloaded every scrap of data I had on Project Nightingale, every communication, every financial transaction, every known participant, every false identity, every dark web conversation, every piece of intelligence I had painstakingly gathered. The sheer volume of evidence was overwhelming, a digital mountain of depravity, meticulously compiled, cross-referenced, and verified. I created multiple encrypted copies, sending them to secure, anonymous servers across the globe, ensuring their resilience against any attempt at deletion or cover-up. Then, with a chilling certainty, I accessed my personal accounts, pulling every penny, every investment, moving my entire fortune, my entire financial existence, into untraceable, offshore accounts that even the most advanced forensic accountants would struggle to find. Financial security was paramount, not just for myself, but for the life I was about to create for Scarlett. A life free from the shadow of Chloe's crimes, free from any financial entanglement she might try to exploit. When Chloe finally returned, it was late, almost midnight. She walked in, breezy, feigning a tired smile, her designer bag slung casually over her shoulder, a picture of effortless elegance. The scent of her expensive perfume, once intoxicating, now felt like a toxic shroud, an almost palpable symbol of her deception. "Rough yoga class," she chirped, her voice light, heading straight for the master bathroom, clearly intending to perform her usual ritualistic shower to wash away the day's illicit activities, a literal and metaphorical cleansing. I stood in the living room, bathed in the soft glow of the city lights, my hands clenched at my sides, my body a rigid monument of controlled fury. "You know," I said, my voice calm, almost conversational, the quiet tone more menacing than any shout, a predator's whisper before the strike. "The hospital called today." She froze mid-stride, her hand still on the bathroom door. The air in the room thickened, charged with a silent, primal fear that emanated from her, a sudden, animalistic apprehension. "They said they had our daughter," I continued, my voice gaining a chilling, flat edge, devoid of any warmth or emotion. "Scarlett Thorne, 3 years old, malnourished, disoriented, asking for her mommy." The final words hung in the air, a cruel accusation. Chloe slowly turned, her face a mask of utter terror, all pretense stripped away. Her eyes, usually so vibrant, were wide and vacant, like a hunted animal caught in a spotlight, desperate and cornered. Her lips trembled, forming silent, meaningless words. Mark, what are you talking about? She whispered, her voice barely audible, a pathetic, last-ditch attempt at feigning ignorance. Don't insult my intelligence, Chloe, I said, my voice rising, the carefully constructed calm shattering like glass, revealing the raw fury beneath. My job is to find the hidden threats, the digital ghosts, the vulnerabilities no one else can see. You, my dear, were a system breach I should have detected far sooner. I stepped forward, holding up a data drive. Not just any drive, but the very one I had used to store all the evidence against Project Nightingale. A small, unassuming black rectangle that held the power to destroy her entire world, to unravel her carefully constructed lies. Project Nightingale, human trafficking, child abandonment, identity fraud. It's all here, Chloe. Every single damning detail. And it's about to go public. Her face drained of color, turning ashen. She swayed, clutching the back of a designer armchair for support, her perfect facade cracking into a million pieces. You're lying. Liam would never, she started, then caught herself, realizing her mistake, the slip revealing another accomplice. No, Mark, you don't know anything. You can't prove anything. This is impossible. I know everything, I countered, my voice cold and hard, devoid of any vestige of the man who had loved her. I know about Elias Thorne. I know about the safe house in Queens. I know about the shell corporations in Panama and the fake adoption agencies in Eastern Europe and the money laundering operations in the Cayman Islands. I know about the children, Chloe. Innocent children, sold and trafficked like commodities, their lives erased for profit. And I know about Scarlett, your daughter, my supposed daughter, the one you created, used as a prop, and then dumped near Grand Central when she became a liability to your monstrous operation, when her existence threatened your dark enterprise. A single tear tracked a path down her cheek, not of remorse, but of pure, unadulterated defeat, a glistening line of self-pity. Her shoulders shook with a silent, desperate sob. She was a mistake, Chloe choked out, her voice raw, betraying the horrifying truth, the chilling absence of maternal feeling, a loose end. She was getting too old, too aware. She was going to compromise everything. The network, my position. I had to distance her. The callousness of her words ignited a fresh surge of incandescent fury within me. My vision momentarily blurred with rage. A mistake! She's a human being, Chloe, a child. How could you do this? How could you fabricate a life, use a child as a shield, and then discard her when she no longer served your purpose? What kind of monster are you? My voice was a low growl, barely controlled, a primal sound of utter contempt. It was business, Mark, she screamed, her voice cracking, desperation replacing terror, a desperate plea for understanding, for justification. I needed a cover, a stable, wealthy husband, a perfect life. You were the ideal Mark. Your security consulting, your frequent travel, your discreet nature, it all provided the perfect cover for my operations. Scarlett was just a prop, a way to make us look like a normal, burgeoning family, to deflect suspicion, to appear beyond reproach to anyone who might scrutinize my movements. And when the prop became inconvenient, you discarded her. I finished, my voice devoid of emotion, a shield against the searing pain of betrayal, the bitterness a dry taste in my mouth. You used my name, my life, my home. You built an entire empire of lies on my trust, and you destroyed innocent lives in the process. You are a cancer, Chloe, and I'm cutting you out. You think you can stop me? She spat, regaining a sliver of her former defiance, her eyes blazing with a desperate, cornered fury, a last pathetic flicker of power. This network is too big, too powerful. You're just one man, Mark. You don't understand the true reach of Project Nightingale. They will come for you. I'm not just one man, Chloe, I said, a grim, almost feral smile touching my lips. I'm a cybersecurity architect who just uploaded every single piece of evidence, every contact, every transaction, every encrypted message, every known safe house, to every major federal agency in this country, every international law enforcement task force like Interpol and Europol, and every single news outlet in this country. And the moment you try to delete any of it or escape, a dead man switch activates, broadcasting everything to the darkest corners of the deep web, making your operation and your identity impossible to hide. You are utterly, irrevocably exposed, Chloe, and your network is about to burn. Her defiance crumbled, the fire in her eyes extinguished, replaced by hollow despair. She collapsed into the armchair, sobbing, a raw, animal sound, not for the lives she had destroyed, but for the empire she had lost, for the freedom she no longer possessed, for the public humiliation that was about to consume her. The beautiful, ambitious woman I had married was gone, replaced by a broken, desperate criminal, reduced to a pathetic shell of her former self. I stood over her, feeling nothing but a cold, hard resolve. In the ensuing days, the authorities moved swiftly. My meticulously compiled digital dossier provided an unprecedented roadmap for law enforcement, a treasure trove of intelligence that dismantled an organization previously thought untouchable. Chloe Maxwell, along with Elias Thorne and countless other members of Project Nightingale across multiple continents, were arrested in a series of coordinated international raids that made global headlines. The scale of the human trafficking operation was even more horrific than I had initially uncovered. Hundreds of children, their identities erased, their futures stolen, were slowly being rescued from across the globe, their small, terrified faces appearing on news channels, their stories breaking hearts worldwide. The network's ties reached into seemingly legitimate businesses, even some prominent charitable organizations, making the betrayal feel even more insidious, exposing a rot at the very core of society. My life, once so perfectly ordered, was now a chaotic maelstrom of police interviews, social services meetings, and the relentless, blinding glare of the media. My name, once synonymous with digital security, was now tragically linked to one of the largest human trafficking busts in recent history, forever intertwined with Chloe's monstrous crimes. My face was plastered across every news channel, every newspaper. The betrayal ran deeper than I could have ever imagined, leaving a gaping, festering wound in my soul. I was haunted by the faces of the children, the cold reality of Chloe's deceit, and the bitter knowledge that I had been a pawn in her sick game, an unwitting accomplice to her atrocities. Sleep was a luxury I rarely afforded myself, filled instead with replays of the horrifying evidence I had uncovered. But amidst the chaos, there was Scarlett. She was frail but resilient, a small warrior in a world that had betrayed her in the most profound way. Her blonde hair, now clean and soft, framed a delicate face that was slowly regaining its color, a faint blush returning to her cheeks. Her eyes, initially wary and distant, like those of a wild animal, began to hold a glimmer of curiosity. Then, tentatively, a spark of trust, a hesitant warmth that melted the icy core of my own pain. She was a victim, yes, but she was also a survivor. Her small hand, when it tentatively reached for mine, felt like a feather, yet held a surprising, unyielding strength, a promise of a future. The social workers explained that Scarlett had been an orphan, trafficked into the Nightingale network as an infant from a small, impoverished village in Eastern Europe. Her birth registered falsely under my name at Mercy Hospital in upstate New York, a ghost of a paper trail. Chloe, in a perverse twist of fate and cold calculation, had chosen her to play the role of daughter due to her striking resemblance to Chloe's own childhood photos, a macabre mirroring, a twisted irony. Scarlett had lived her entire life believing Chloe was her mother and that I was her absent father, always traveling. The discovery that her entire existence was a lie, a fabricated cover, a calculated deception, was a trauma that would take years, perhaps a lifetime, to heal. I, Mark Thorne, the man who never had a daughter, suddenly had one, and a choice. I could walk away, let the system handle it, distance myself from the devastating fallout and the public spectacle, return to my quiet, solitary existence. Or I could embrace the impossible, open my heart to this traumatized child, and offer her the one thing she had never truly known: genuine, unconditional love and stability, a true home. The decision was clear. It wasn't a choice. It was a calling, a profound and undeniable pull on my heart, a sense of purpose that transcended anything my career had ever offered. I began the arduous process of formal adoption. It was a long, emotionally draining journey, filled with legal hurdles, intense scrutiny from social services, and countless hours with child psychologists. but every step was worth it. I transformed my penthouse, removing the stark, minimalist art and replacing it with bright, colorful paintings, children's books, and soft, comforting rugs. My office, once a fortress of solitude, became a place where Scarlett could draw at a small table while I worked, her crayons creating vibrant landscapes on paper that mirrored the new hope blooming in my life, a new beginning for both of us. I sought therapy for both of us, separately and together. Scarlett, with the help of a compassionate child psychologist specializing in trauma, slowly began to process her ordeal. She learned that Chloe was not her real mother, but that I, Mark, was choosing to be her father, irrevocably and forever. She learned about trust, about safety, about a love that didn't come with a hidden agenda or a price. She learned that she was loved for simply being herself, not for being a prop in someone else's twisted narrative. Her nightmares gradually lessened, replaced by dreams of adventures and laughter. My own therapy helped me navigate the complex grief of betrayal, the corrosive anger, and the profound responsibility of unexpected fatherhood. I learned to distinguish between Chloe's crimes and Scarlett's innocence, to separate the monster from the victim. I learned that forgiveness wasn't about excusing the perpetrator, but about freeing myself from the corrosive grip of hatred, allowing myself to heal and to love again. It was a painful but necessary cleansing, a journey of self-discovery that reshaped my very identity. I also learned to trust my instincts, not just in cybersecurity, but in life, listening to the quiet whispers of doubt that had once been overridden by superficial charm. My closest friends and family, once shocked and confused by the scandal that engulfed my life, rallied around me with unwavering support. Elias Vance, my former mentor, became a trusted confidant and a surrogate grandfather figure to Scarlett, his gruff exterior softening around her infectious laughter. My parents, initially bewildered by the sudden appearance of a granddaughter they never knew existed, embraced Scarlett with open arms, their love a steady, unwavering anchor in our turbulent lives. They saw beyond the sensational headlines, recognizing the profound act of love and courage that had brought us together, a new, unexpected branch on our family tree. My career, inevitably, took a different path. The public scrutiny was immense, but my reputation for integrity and my pivotal role in exposing Project Nightingale eventually garnered unexpected respect and admiration. I pivoted my cybersecurity firm, dedicating a significant portion of its resources to combating human trafficking and child exploitation. I leveraged my skills for a cause far more meaningful than corporate espionage, using my expertise to track down networks, identify victims, and provide digital forensic support to law enforcement agencies worldwide. I helped to train new generations of cyber investigators, ensuring that the fight against such insidious evils continued beyond my own efforts, building a legacy of protection, not just profit. We developed new AI-driven tools to detect patterns of trafficking, and I frequently spoke at conferences, raising awareness and advocating for stronger legislation. The past 2 years have been a whirlwind of unexpected joy and profound healing. Scarlett, now 5, is a vibrant, curious, and incredibly intelligent little girl. Her laughter echoes through our home, a pure, innocent melody that banishes the ghosts of the past, filling every corner with light. We visit the park, we read bedtime stories, we build elaborate Lego castles that sometimes collapse spectacularly, leading to fits of giggles. She asks endless why questions that challenge my logical mind and open my heart to the wonders of the world through her eyes, reminding me of the simple joys of discovery. She calls me Daddy, a word that, when spoken by her, fills my heart with a warmth and purpose I never knew was possible, a connection more profound than any blood tie. My life is no longer a meticulously crafted symphony of individual success. It is a messy, beautiful, sometimes challenging, but infinitely more fulfilling duet of fatherhood and purpose. The betrayal, the shock, the heartbreak, they were the crucible that forged a new Mark Thorne, a man who found his greatest purpose not in guarding digital secrets for corporations, but in protecting an innocent child, in fighting for justice, and in building a family born not of biology, but of profound, unwavering love and a shared journey of healing. The emptiness I once sought to fill with material success is now overflowing with the richness of a life deeply lived, a life with meaning beyond measure. My story isn't just about a phone call that shattered my reality or a wife who turned out to be a monster. It's about the unexpected paths life can throw at you and the profound choices you make when faced with them. It's about how even in the darkest corners of human depravity, there can be a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption, and the purest form of love to emerge. It's about understanding that sometimes the family you don't expect is the one you are always meant to have. And it's about finding strength in vulnerability, purpose in pain, and a future built on integrity and unwavering love. It's about recognizing that sometimes the greatest treasures are found not where you expect them, but where you least imagine, emerging from the ashes of betrayal. If you've ever found yourself in an impossible situation, if you've had your trust shattered, or if you've discovered an unexpected path that led to your true purpose, share your story in the comments below. Let's build a community where resilience, compassion, and the power of chosen family are celebrated. If my story resonated with you, if it gave you hope, please hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life narratives about overcoming adversity, and share it with someone who might need to hear that even in the darkest times, light can always be found. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the greatest blessings arrive disguised as the greatest challenges.